Recording in progress. Okay. It's self-conscious. So at least looking at myself. Listen. Yerovam ben Yoash's time, in the psukim there it says like they have no right, no zchuyot Am Yisrael, but Hashem has decided to allow them to conquer land, even though there's not, because he doesn't want Am Yisrael to be left alone. We can look at it if people are interested. But in there it says, "Hu yeshiv et gvul Yisrael milevo chamat ad yam ha'arava kedvar Hashem Elokei Yisrael asher v'diber biyad avdo Yonah ben Amitai Hanavi asher migat ha'chefer." Okay, so that's the one place Yonah is mentioned, that he was the one that predicted it in Yerovam ben Yoash's time. The Am Yisrael will be able to conquer land, even though they don't deserve it. We're talking about Israel, not Yehuda. Israel will be able to conquer. Now he's from Gat Hefer, so Chazal say that's the Gvul of Zvulun. That's the area. He might have been from Zvulun. They also say he was also from Asher, and then they come to a compromise in the Gemara that his mother was from Asher and his father was from Zvulun. But just to give us where he's from. Chazal do say that Yonah ben Amitai, if the father is mentioned, then he's also a Navi, right? Although Chazal pick up on the Amitai and connect him to, what's the source of Amitai? Emet, exactly. So they connect him to Emet, and they actually connect him in two places also to Eliyahu, who represents the standing, the kanai for Emet. And that's the two Midrashim, 2 and 3. He's, okay, so Ben Tzarfat Ha'almanah, Hu Yonah ben Amitai. Okay, so this is just to give a background. Eliyahu Navi says that there won't be rain unless Am Yisrael does tshuva, and then he goes out to the desert, and he's on his own, and then Hashem tells him to go to Tzarfat, and there somebody will help him have food, and he finds this almanah and her son, and she says to him, "I don't have any food. There's really no food in the country." And then he says, "Don't worry, if I'm with you, then you'll get food and drink." And then really for about a year, she manages to feed him. And then at the end of that time, her son gets very, very sick. And this is the famous story that Eliyahu brings him back to life. He reset stage. A lot of the Mepharshim say he really died. maybe it was clinical death, whatever it was, and Eliyahu manages, David's a lot, 3 times tries to resuscitate him, and then he manages. And so the Midrash says that child is Yonah. Okay?
He put his spirit
into Yonah, exactly. So it's really interesting. The whole Midrash says, Ben Sarfat al-Amanahu Yonah ben Amitai, Hayat Tzadik Gamor, Nitzraf bebliat dagim, uvimtzolot yamim velo met, right? We know that from our story. Nichnas bechayav bechvodo began eden. Okay, paralleling him to Eliyahu, who also goes Besara Shemaima, and he also doesn't die. So Yonah also, the Midrash says, also didn't die really. He just walked into Gan Eden. Putting that aside, we're not going to try to understand that right now.
Yonah's kever we have a couple of places.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we have kever.
We don't have any kever for Eliyahu, right? Another person that they in Tanakh that they say is Yonah, the Midrash, is in source number 3. Akadosh Baruch Hu mitzaveh l'Eliyahu ve'omer lo v'et Yehu ben Nimshi timshoch lemelech Yisrael. After Eliyahu goes to the desert and he says he gives up. After Izebel wants to kill all of Nevi Israel, and she's running after him, he runs to Midbar Sinai, and then he has also some sort of Itgalut Hashem, and then Hashem gives him 3 jobs to do. And one of them is to anoint Yehu ben Nimshi as a melech. Yehu will be the one who will uproot Achav's. This is in the Melachim Shir, but I know there's a lot of information. I hope that's okay. I don't know what the background is for people know. I hope it's clear. If there are questions, please ask. But it's just that it's important to see that like Chazal saw Yonah as part of very much connected to Eliyahu, and also in that time period, and it will be an important thing to understand as we go through Yonah. What is Yonah's message versus Eliyahu's message? But just to go back to one of the jobs Hashem gives to Eliyahu is to anoint Yehu to be king, and he will be the one who will uproot all of Achav and Izebel's descendants. He will go and do a mass murder of all the descendants of Izebel and Achav. Thank you, and Achav, who are the ones who bring the Baal into Israel.
Well, that's for 4 generations, right?
Yes, he lasts for 4 generations, and then Yehu. I think his son Yoram is killed. And then so Eliyahu actually doesn't do this. He doesn't do it himself. Eliyahu tzivat Elisha shalachet Yonah v'mashcho. Yonah was the nar, and that's another whole story, who anoints Yehu. Okay, so Yonah, we don't really know from Yonah anything. We just know Yonah ben Amitai. We know that most of the first you connect him to the Yonah ben Amitai in Melachim, and Chazal put him in the context of Eliyahu and his job in Am Yisrael to bring Eliyahu, who represents Emet, Eliyahu, who is Kanai for Hashem, and somehow Yonah fits in this picture. Okay, that's a background. Yonah is going to be something different. We're going to have to figure out why is Yonah doing the problem with Yonah is we all know the story. But it's very good, I think, to try to take a step back and act as if you never read it before, and then try to read it again. And what do you get out of the story then?
Look, okay. It's very dangerous. But that's the one thing that is brought through on the ground. Is that you can't create a world.
You
can't live with it. There's nowhere to go
in this world. In this world, it's very hard to live with Emet, especially right now. Like we really see it in our face. But it's true that this world is very hard to be with Emet, and we saw that Eliyahu sort of gives up in his life, in being able to convince everybody of Emet. He tries his best. He does the Ma'amad Carmel, and he does so many things. But in the end, it seems he's given up. Like he doesn't feel he can do it. And it's true. Emet is very hard to live with. And I think Yonah, though, is we're going to see through his story, he has a different perspective on Emet a little bit than Eliyahu. I think his perspective, although he also has a problem with Emet and this world. Okay, so that was Pasuk Aleph. Pasuk Bet. Kum lech el Ninve, hayir hagdola, ukra elea, ki alta ra'atam lefanai. Okay, so get up, go to Ninve, the big city, call to it, because their evil has come in front of me. So now I don't think there's anywhere else in the Tanakh where a Navi gets a tzivui to go do something. What do you do when God tells you to do something?
Go do it.
You go do it, right? Kum, he's telling him, get up and go to Nineveh. Now, he actually hasn't told us what he's supposed to actually say to Nineveh, right? If you look carefully, it says, go to Nineveh and cry there. What is he supposed to call? Like, what is he supposed to say? Now, we happen to know chapter 3, but say at this point, he hasn't told him what he's supposed to say. A lot of Mepharshim say he won't tell him until he gets there. Like, when he gets there, he'll tell him exactly what he's supposed to say. But at this point, he say, I need you to call, just giving him the idea of what he's going to have to do, because their Atam has come in front of me. I want to give them a chance. He didn't say that. I just added that part. Okay, so what does Yonah do? By the way, where's Nineveh? Everybody knows where Nineveh is? Everybody knows where Nineveh is? Nineveh is, okay. Here's Israel, right? Ashur, right? Around Syria and maybe a bit further up. And then here on the river is Nineveh. Okay, it's the major city. Where is the first? It's around. I think it's Syria.
Where was Yonah when he was told this?
We don't know. I can tell you what the Midrash says.
Yeah, I can also tell you what the Midrash says.
Right, the Midrash says he was
in Sukkot.
He was on Sukkot in Simchat Beit HaShoeva, and he was so with Hashem. Hashem calls him to do this.
In the middle. So, the middle of that.
It is very far, and also it's very rare that a Jewish Navi is supposed to go to a foreign city and help them to do tshuva, like, which he doesn't know yet. Okay, well, I added that from the next thing. But it's a very rare thing that Hashem, and Hashem is taking him, he's in a place, according to the Midrash, he's in this place of like, Hitchabut Hashem, he's in the highest simcha you could be, and then Hashem goes and tells him to do this. Not so nice. Right, exactly. I have a job for you. Exactly. So, okay. So that's where Nineveh is. Nineveh, by the way, is also one of the cities that Nimrod establishes. Okay, so it's also associated with anti-Hashem. Okay, all right. Pasuk Gimel. So we expect to say that he gets Vayakam Yonah Lalachet LaNineveh, right? That's what we expect. Vayakam Yonah Livorach Tarshisha Milifnei Hashem Vayered Yafo Vayimtza Onia Ba Tarshish Vayiten Schara Vayered Ba Lavoi Mahem Tarshisha Milifnei Hashem. Okay, so this is a unique thing that happens. There are Nevi'im that don't want to be Nevi'im, right? We have Moshe, we have Yirmiyahu, but there isn't a case where a Navi thinks that he can run away. Okay, also remember that Nevi'im aren't just people. They are people who, I mean, if you look at the Rambam, right? A Navi has to be somebody who has the highest midot, and that he's worked on himself, and he is close to Hashem, and there's a whole description of everything he has to be in order to get to this point where God talks to you. So Yonah isn't just this random person. He's a very holy person who is he thinks he can run away. Okay, so Chazal were also bothered by this, and they say, they point out, they notice a little thing in the pasuk, right? He's going to Tarshish, milifnei Hashem, not mipnei Hashem, milifnei Hashem. He doesn't want to be standing where Hashem is. So milifnei Hashem is he's done a whole understanding that there is a nevuah outside of Chutz La'aretz, outside of Israel. There is a nevuah in Chutz La'aretz. So I'm going to go milifnei Hashem. Being in Israel is being lifnei Hashem. I'm going to go outside of there, and I'm going to go to somewhere far away. It's not that he thinks he can run away necessarily from Hashem, but he can run away from that necessity to be with nevuah, that necessity that Hashem tell him what to do. And this is a job I don't want to do. I'm going away. Now, why?
That's also after he failed with Yoash. It's like you can't really separate.
Yerovam ben Yoash.
Yerovam ben Yoash, because that was a failure. And Yisrael saw him as a failure because here,
Right. So you're referring, there's a midrash that this is his third nevuah.
Right.
And he first had two nevuot. And the first one is that he goes to Yerovam ben Yoash. The second one is that he said that Yerushalayim, this is the midrash says, we don't have this in the text, that he goes to Yerushalayim, it says that it will be nichrav. And then it doesn't happen because they do good enough tshuva, and then they call him an Navi Sheker. Okay, and I brought the next part of that midrash. We'll go into it in a minute. Okay, maybe we can read it now as you brought it up.
That's all I know is midrash.
Okay, so maybe you don't need to sit it. But anyway, it's really the second, that it's really the midrash that's saying that. So in 4, it says Pam Gimel Shel Chol Ninveh. Like if it said the first 2 times that I just mentioned, the first 2 nevuot. Pam Gimel Shel Chol Ninveh. Dan Yonah Din Beino Levein Atzmo. Amar Ani Yodea Sheze Agoy Krovei HaTshuva Hem. עכשיו עושים תשובה, והקדוש ברוך הוא שולח רוגזו על ישראל. ולא די שישראל קוראים אותי נביא שקר, אלא אף עקום. Also the goyim will call me a Navi Sheker. Already borech li makom shelo ne'emar kvodo sham. I'm going to go to somewhere where Hashem is not there. Im al hashamayim ne'emar shekvodo sham, shene'emar al hashamayim kvodo, la'aretz asher kvodo sham, shene'emar malok la'aretz kvodo. Already borech li makom shelo ne'emar kvodo sham. Yarad. Okay, so that I'll read the rest of the midrash in a minute. So he decides he goes down to Yafo. He wants to leave the presence of Hashem. He goes down to Yafo. Imtsa Oniya, he finds a ship, Ba'a Tarshish. Now, it's a very strange way to say it, Ba'a Tarshish. It's supposed to say, Holechet Tarshish, right? The Oniya. So this is why I brought the Midrash, because I thought it was really interesting, the Midrash. It said, okay, Yarad Yona liyafo, v'lo matza sham Oniya liyired ba, v'a'oniya sheyarad ba Yona hayta rechoka miyafo. So the ship was far away from Yafo. Ma'alach shnei yamim lenasot et Yonah. Okay, the Oniya was actually far away, and it was 2 days away from Yafo. Ma'asa Kadosh Baruch Hu hevia le'aruch sara b'yam ve'echzira liyafo. So what did he do? He brought it back. V'ra'a Yonah v'samach b'libo ve'amar achshav ani yodea shedarkai miyoshra lefanai. So I thought this is fascinating because how many times do we do something and then it goes and it happens just as we wanted it to happen, and we're like, okay, God must be saying that this is the right thing for me to do. So Chazal are saying the Oniya somehow had to come back, and so Yonah's like, oh, I must be doing the right thing, which is actually not true. But I thought it was a beautiful thing of Chazal. It was like just from the Ba'a Tarshish, they see that, okay, that's not written the way it's supposed to be. No, it actually was going to Tarshish. It didn't manage to go, so then it comes back. And then he's like, oh, no, okay, Hashem matzliach b'darki, in the most ironic way. V'yiten schara. Now, Veitan Schara is also a bit strange, and they say that he bought the boat. Like he wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible, so he just paid for the whole boat, and that they'll leave as soon as possible. Vayired ba, and then he goes, and again the Vayired, he's leaving Hashem. Vayired, lavo imahem tarshisha milifnei Hashem. Okay, so he goes with them, he leaves, and he's trying to run away from Hashem. Okay, questions?
I think the fact that he sees this as his hashkafa pratit, that this is what Hashem intends to teach him the lesson that he can't run away from Hashem. There is a hashkafa pratit.
Right. Hashem, okay, I'm going to let you do what you want to do.
But
you'll see that this doesn't work.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Okay, so he goes, he thinks he's working, and he's managing to run away. פסוק ד' והשם הטיל רוח גדולה על הים, והיא שר גדול בים, והאונייה חישבה להישבר. Okay, so Hashem brings a big ruach on the yam, that there's a big storm, and the ship thought it was going to break. Okay, so now I read this in Rav Bachar's book, is like, we got here first this outside perspective, like there's a Sarah, and God, we know God has made it, and from the outside it looks like the Oniyah is really going to break. And then Pasuk Hey is like, what's happening in the ship. Vayira'u hamalachim, vayizaku ish el elokav, vayatilu et hakelim asher b'oniyah al hayam, la'akel ma'alehem, vayona yarad el yaketei asfina v'ishkav vayirda. Okay, so every time you read it, you're like, oh my gosh, but okay, so now the sailors are like, they're each trying to turn to their God, they're each trying to think, what is this thing? Now, in Chazal, they say that all the other ships around them were fine. Right. And they could see that only they had the Sarah. So that's really scary when you have the Sarah just on you and you see that everything's going. So the first thing they try to do, okay, like, how let's throw everything off the ship so it's not too heavy, so nothing doesn't get hurt. And that's the first thing they do. And while they're doing that, just goes to sleep, which is like really strange. But I really liked how Rav Bachar phrased it, and that's in source 5. ונפשו של יונה אף היא הייתה שקטה, אחר החלטה או אחר ייאוש. So he says it's either two things. Either he's, okay, I've made a decision. I'm leaving. I don't want to do this job. I don't care what happens to me. And so he's made that decision. Or he's like, Yush, he's given up. Like, I can't do this. This is done. But then he quotes a Rav Kook, and I thought this is really, again, a nice little insight. השינה משחררת את האדם מהשיעבוד של העולם החיצוני. Like, we go to sleep because then we can run away. We can, like, we don't have to worry anymore. What did you say?
Escaping reality.
Escaping reality. I'm going down. I'm going to be in my peace. I'm just escaping. I don't want to be in reality. I want to go to sleep. And he goes down and he goes to sleep. And now we're like, now we all know the song to the next pasuk. But Vaykrav alav Rav Chovel, Vayomer lo, Ma lecha nirdam, kum kra el Elokecha, ulai yitashet haElokim lanu v'lo noaved. So the Rav Chovel, and I think also the sailors and the Rav Chovel in the story are going to like be a real antithesis. Yonah, who is supposed to be close to Hashem, is not doing what Hashem wants. He's running away. He's trying not to do it. While these sailors and this Rav Chovel, they're going to slowly be seeing Hashem and wanting to get close. Like, how come you're not calling to your God? What are you doing? Why are you just scared sleeping?
We're also using the same word, kum.
Nachon. To kum. And then he gets up and goes away. And now it's kum to go to daven. Nachon. And maybe ulai tashet itratzeh. Maybe the Elokim will be pleased, and then by your davening, and then we won't die. Okay, pasuk zayin. Vayamru ish el re'ehu lechu v'napila goralot v'nida'a b'shel mi hara'a hazot lanu v'yiplu hagoralot v'yipol hagoral el Yonah. Okay, so they each say to each other, okay, well, let's see who is fun. Let's do some goral. Like, we know goral from what? From Achan. We know goral from. There's also other ones there's also in Shmuel. Shaul does a goral, but we also know from Haman. Like, Haman does a goral. What day will I destroy the Jews? But here, again, Chazal, reading the text carefully, it says goralot. It doesn't say epilu goral. It says Epil Goralot.
That's why it said Achan, because they went through first it was few. Shevet and the family, and then
right.
got to
this is also Goralot. So here they say they did it a few times. Like, they tried to find who it was. Yonah comes out. Okay, fine. They don't want to accuse somebody. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, they do it again. Yonah comes out. They do it again. Yonah comes out. So that the sailors are trying their best. They don't want to accuse somebody. They don't want to hurt somebody. And we'll see it throughout the whole story here. Well, yes, yeah, but they're you like them.
No, I think that they would like that.
Yeah, they're really
We
trying it.
like
I think
them
it's
very much.
we like it very much.
Malachim.
Mamash, mamash.
It's like malachim that are malachim.
Right, mamash. And so the Goral goes on Yonah. Okay, and so they at some point they're like, okay, look, Yonah, it's coming out on you. What's going on? Why is this you? Pasuk Chet. V'yamru elav hagida lanu. Ba'asher למי הרעה הזאת לנו? מה מלאכתך ומאין תבוא? מה ארצך? ואי מזה המתה. Okay, so now they're just asking all these questions, right? And it's a little bit like they're jumping from thing to thing. Like, okay, tell us what bad you did, and what's your job, and where did you come from, and from what nation are you? And it's like they're jumping from thing to thing. And then Chazal say they were like so near Gash that they're so upset, and they're like, okay, so what did you do, and what should we do, and where are you from, and they're trying to figure out what is the story here, okay? And so they ask all the questions, and then he says to them, ויאמר להם, עברי אנוכי, את השם אלוקי השמיים אני ירא, אשר עשה את הים ואת היבשה. Okay, and he simply answers, okay, I'm of Ivri. That's how a Jew is called then, Ivri. And I fear Hashem, who's Elokei Hashamayim, and he made the sea, and he made the Yabasha. And the truth is that Chazal say he said to them more. I brought here Radak. כי יגיד להם, כשאמר להם את השם אלוקי השמיים אני ירא, אמרו לו, אם כן, איך היה זה אסר בעבורך? If you really fear Hashem, then why is there a storm because of you? אמר להם, אני נביא, והקל יתברך היה שולח אותי לנינווה, והיה קשה בעיניי, לכתי עליהם, וברכתי לי, מפני זה, ויצאתי מארץ ישראל, שהיא מקום הנבואה. Okay, explaining why he thought he could leave. I'm going from Eretz Israel. He explains to them, "Oh yeah, I'm a Navi. I should be doing something, and God's angry at me." Okay. Okay. Pasuk Yud. ויראו האנשים עירה גדולה, ויאמרו אליו, מה זאת עשית? כי ידעו האנשים כי מלפני השם הוא בורח כי יגיד להם. Radak isn't taking from nowhere. It says in the text, he told them what the story is. But here, mazut asita it's a rhetorical question. It's not like, how could you do that? If you really are talking about this God, who is shalayam v'yabasha of the Shemayim, how could you think that you can run away and not do what God tells you? Now, he doesn't do anything. If you notice when the Rav Chovel talks to him, it doesn't say that he called to Hashem. Yonah is steadfast in I am not turning to Hashem. Yeah, I'm not doing anything. Pasuk Yudalef. V'yamru elav, ma na'aseh lach, v'yishtok hayam me'aleinu, ki hayam holech v'so'er. And so they're caught. Now these are good people. They don't want to just kill him. They don't want to do anything. They're like, what are we supposed to do? How are we going to stop the storm that you are admitting and you're saying to us is because of this? And then, okay, so then he answers them, ויאמר להם, שאוני ויתלוני אל הים, וישתוק הים מעליכם, כי יודע אני, כי בשלי השר הגדול הזה לכם. He said, kill me. Oh, no, I don't know if kill me. Throw me into the sea. Throw me into the sea. And then the Sarah Gadol, only because of me is this storm, and then don't worry about it. Okay, so we expect, okay, maybe the next pasuk will be they threw him over the sea, but that's not the next pasuk. The next pasuk is pasuk Yud Gimel. ויחתרו האנשים להשיב אל היבשה, ולא יכולו, כי הים הולך וסוער עליהם. I think this is a beautiful thing about the Malachim. They don't just do whatever Yonah says, even if he's a Navi, even if they're Yerei Hashem. Now, did they see God attacking their ship because of this one guy, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is something real. They don't just throw him in. The first thing they try to do, okay, and here I think the Malbim says they try to go to the Yabasha. Let's leave you on the Yabasha, and then you'll survive. We won't kill you, and then we'll that's their solution. This Perush that Rav Bachar brings in 7, Vayichteru inyan chafira. Perusho vayichteru b'mashotot. So either it's that they tried with the actual the boar paddles. What is it? Oars. Thank you, oars. Because it's like they're digging in the sea. כלומר, חקרו, חיפשו עצות ותחבולות שיוכלו להוציא הספינה ליבשה. They tried to figure out a different way of doing it. They don't want to throw him into the sea. They're trying their hardest, and I think that it's coming from the pasuk that they don't immediately throw him in. They're trying, they're searching, they're digging deep, also to try to find some sort of solution not to do this. And then the Midrash, and I'm going to bring the Midrash also, that it when you read the Midrash and after you've read the pasuk, that you see it, they're not immediately just trying to like throw him in, that it comes from reading the psukim, and you see how hesitant they are in actually doing it. I'll just read one more pasuk. Pasuk Yudalet, Vayikre'u el Hashem, Vayomru, Ana Hashem, Al na no'aveda b'nefesh ha'ish hazeh, ve'al titen aleinu dam naki, ki ata Hashem ka'asher chafatzta asita. Okay. These sailors who are, Yonah's not calling Hashem. Yonah's not, he could maybe just by davening, he could like make a difference here. He's not calling to Hashem, but the sailors call to Hashem, and they say, we really don't want to kill somebody. We really don't want to have his blood on our hands. We don't want dam naki. Because you're Hashem, you're doing whatever you want to do. Like they have complete recognition of Hashem, and the Midrash is actually really beautiful here. They say like it's like this. Rabbi in 8, Rabbi Shimon Omer lo kiblu anashim la'apil et Yonah elayam vehepilu goralot alayam ve'iplu goral Yonah. Okay, that's what we said, goralot. Umasu natlu et hakelim sheboniya. They first tried to throw the things, and that didn't help. Ratzu lachtor beyabasha ve'lo yachlu. Ma'asu natlu et Yonah ve'amdu al yarketei asfina ve'amru אלוקי עולם השם, אל תיתן עלינו דם נקי, שאין אנו יודעים מה טיבו של האיש הזה. אמר להם, בשבילי הצרה הזאת לכם, שאוני ותלוני על הים. So, okay, so you think, okay, now they're going to just throw him. But no, the Midrash goes on. מיד נטלוהו והטילו עד הרכבותיו. Partially, they put him in partially.
Then they pulled him back.
ועמד הים מזעפו, and the sea calmed down. לקחו אותו, and then they pulled it back. Like, okay, we started. והים סוער להם. הטילו עד צווארו, והעמיד הים מזעפו. ועוד העלו אותו עצלן, והים הולך וסוער עליהם. הטילו כולו מיד, ומיד עמד הים מזעפו. So they tried their best. They did not want to hurt him. They every step of the way they tried their best. No. In the end, they didn't have a choice. They had to throw him in.
But they also learned another way, because they understood that they didn't have a choice in what they were going to do. So they pulled him by the knees, and then they saw it doesn't work, and they said,
"This is what Hashem wants them to do."
That's what Hashem wants them to do.
Right, it's true. They learned it also, and we'll see at the end that that's where they get to. So the next pasuk, "Vaysu et Yonah ve'itiluhu al hayam, v'yamod hayam mizafo." Okay, so they did all this. Let's say this process. Vayira'u ha'anashim ira gdola et Hashem. So they come out of this, ma'aminim be'Hashem. They come out of this bringing zvachim. According to Chazal, they go to Israel. They convert. They marry wives, and they bring korbanot. And they are so now again but they had in their eyes, if you think of the whole story, they had galut Hashem. They saw God acting, like he makes a storm just on them. He makes they try not to throw him in, pull him back, but it happens again. Like it's clear, like mamash hashgacha pratit, and they see it and they get the message. And this is complete foil to Yonah.
Yeah, it should have been teaching Yonah.
Yonah, like you can't run away.
Yonah doesn't have a problem.
No, but
he just doesn't want to do it.
Yonah believes that the others, the goyim, can't do tshuva and can't get close to Hashem.
No, he thinks they can do tshuva. That's why he's upset.
That's the problem. He doesn't want them to do tshuva.
Yeah.
But you know what the story, this part of the Midrash reminds me of is himself. That he tried every single God, and at the end he realized that the only one was the Kodesh Baruch Hu, but that was after going through
all the
experimenting with everybody, and that's exactly what they did. Everybody called to their own God.
That didn't work.
God didn't help.
But they saw that this God.
So then they said, okay, anybody else?
Yeah, but I think people could go through that experience and not necessarily get the message.
No.
The fact that they mamash internalized that message and they mamash didn't want to do what God wanted us. They had a spoon musari inside. I think that's something unique about these malachim, like that they want to do that. So that's the beginning of Yonah. I think we also are saying that we can't escape Hashem, but where Yonah takes this out, if we continue next week, then I was hoping to go through each week the different parak and get through the Sefer and then connect it to Yom Kippur in the end.
I think this was also a lesson for Yonah. In other words, his problem was that he didn't want Nineveh to absorb tshuva because he knew that was not good for Israel.
Right. It's a bad example. Like they'll make us look bad.
He thinks that there was no ulterior motive to these malachim. They didn't have to do what they did, and yet they were so true.
Right. Also, I think I saw somewhere also that they keep trying, but Hashem is not allowing them to do it because Yonah is not changing. Until Yonah recognizes what Hashem is doing, then Hashem won't let them manage to save him. But yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for another. I can go have breakfast.
Yeah. I guess we can stop this.